Awesome. So I hope you got things like, in addition to personal contact, you saw things like education, right? Obviously, work experience. But for teenagers, things like extracurricular activities and school awards, school accomplishments, skills, things like that are also categories that will be included. But for today's particular agenda, we're just going to be working on the first top two categories, which are your contact information and your education. Okay, so for the agenda today, Ignite, you already did that brainstorming the different categories. Now we're in kind of the modeling phase. I'm going to chunk how to use the different keyboard functions and the Google Doc functions in order to format your resume in a way that looks really professional and clear and concise. I'm going to go kind of slow. I expect you to follow along with me. And then after that, I have a quick kind of chew question for you to help your brain process why you might use one particular function versus the other, immediately followed by the review, which is just finishing up the formatting, okay? So with no further ado, let's get started. I need you to go into Google Classroom and find the resume class. And you'll see that I've posted day 3, Intro to Formatting. Okay, and here's all the instructions of what you need to accomplish by the end of the day. It's also the same when we get to the review slide. It's all the same instructions, okay? So go ahead and open this resume template. I made it so that it will force a copy into your Google Drive. It's yours. So you're gonna title it, mine says resume template. You're gonna change the title to your name resume, right? So I'll say really quick, Morgan's resume, for instance. Cool, so let's get started. So the first thing I wanna show you is that your name should be centered on the top. So I have all these functions to left align it, meaning it's right along the left margin. I can center it, right? So it's dead center. Or I can right align it, so it's perfectly along the right margins. Your name, I want it right in the middle, okay? So make sure you've hit this center button. It's already kind of done for you. What I see lots of times is kids try to use the space bar to like more or less put it in the middle, and you guys are old enough to know now that there's actually a function for that, right? If I hit center there, it's incorporating all of those space bars, those spaces that I've done. So I'll bring it all the way back and then I'll center it, okay? So for your name, I'm going to put Morgan Rosales. You want your first name and your last name. However, if you have an androgynous name, meaning it could either be a girl's name or a boy's name, it's not necessarily directed or primarily used just in one gender, I recommend that you put a middle name. So my name is Morgan Marie Rosales. Why I suggest putting the middle name as opposed to just saying, Mrs. Morgan Rosales, you never, ever, ever, this is particularly for ladies, you never want to put your marital status anywhere in a resume. Why? If I say Mrs. Morgan Rosales, they look through my work experience. They see like, she's in her late 20s, almost 30. She's married. She might want to have a kid, right, during this time. And believe it or not, people will not hire you for that. That is illegal to do, but that happens because it charges, or it's really expensive for employers to pay for maternity leaves and things like that. So just to eliminate the possibility of any discrimination, do not include your marital status. Boys, to put Mr. I guess that's fine, right? Because whether you're 16 or you're 60, you are Mr. That's okay. But if you have a name that you're not sure if they'll know you're a boy or a girl, go ahead and just put your middle name, okay? Awesome. So next is our address. So this line address is literally the numbers of your building and the street name and your apartment number if you have one, right? So I live at 4112 49th Street, and I live in apartment 12, okay? That's where I live. please go ahead and write in yours. Um, I've looked up a lot about why do you need contact information. There's no one right answer. There's no like one consistent answer online of why that should be there. But everywhere you look says it has to be there. So just do it. My way of wrapping my head around of why do I need to include my my address and my apartment number. I think, particularly when you get out of college or you're getting ready to go into the workforce, and you're applying for jobs and you're potentially applying for jobs outside of the state, maybe that's why, they want to see where you're coming from, because they might have to factor that in. Sometimes companies will pay you to move, right? So maybe that's why. But it's just a consistent formatting thing. Please have it, okay? So then next, you'll see that you want your city followed by a comma. It's really tiny. The state abbreviation, and then your zip code. So my city is Sunnyside. I live up in Queens. Sunnyside. My state is New York, but I'm just going to say NY. You do not need to spell out New York. And then my zip code is 11104. Please go ahead and do that. Okay, so there's missing contact information. I'm just going to tell you, I'm sorry to just do this to you, just give you all the answers. But in addition to your address, your physical address, that it should be left aligned. So let me make that clear again, right? This is left aligned. I could center it. What did that just do? I could center it. But I don't want to. I'm just not going to waste time on that. I want it left aligned. Make sure it's perfectly there, okay? But I'm missing my phone number. They're probably going to call me before they send, mail to my house, and an email address, because that's maybe how they like to best do that. So what I see kids often do is they just use their space bar. As you can hear my keyboard. Do not do that. Do not do that. It is so annoying, and it messes up your formatting in the long run. If you look at your keyboard, on the left-hand side, you have, your caps lock, how you make all your letters capital, and right above it is a word or a button that's called tab, T-A-B, tab. You're just going to tab across, and it is naturally spacing it in even chunks till I get more or less to the right side of the screen, okay? And here's where I'm gonna put my phone number. My phone number is 929. Maybe you want to put that in parentheses to show that's the area code, 929-297-3748. Oops, and it just brought me down to the next line. I don't want that, so I'm going to come back up to the top. I'm going to just hit back one, but again, I tabbed, so it's these even chunks, and so you can see how there's this space all the way from the right align, and I don't want that space. I want this 8 to be right aligned. So that's where you start using your keyboard. Just till it gets to the very end. That was one too many. I go back. Awesome. Okay. I want to also bring, my formatting is wonky. Okay, here we go. Okay, so yours should look like this now. Next is your email address. So again, you're going to go tab, 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 all the way over. And please use your school email address. The joke in my last session when I taught this was, you don't want an email address that says bigbootyjudy@hotmail.com. That is not the email address you want, a future employer to potentially email you at, right? Maybe that's cool with your friends, that's your personal, but use the most professional email address that you have. So mine is just my school one, right? mrosales@mesacharter.org. Again, I'm going to tab across, tab one more time. That was too far, so I come back, and I just use a space bar to bring it over to the end. I don't like this big space, so I'm going to I've reused this document so many times, the formatting might be wonky, but since it's the copy that you guys are using, you're going to have to make all those fixes too, okay? Dope. So then really quick, I just want to show you a couple more functions and I'll go through this quickly. So what typically happens is your resume is going to be full of writing that's all about this size, right? I'm using Times New Roman and I'm in size 12. But it will all start to look exactly the same when we start filling it out. So for differentiation, we want to differentiate our text so that certain things pop out and are drawn to the employers or whoever is looking at your resume to their attention. Okay. So, one thing is bolding. Something we can do is bold. I want you to bold the name of the school. So, up at the top, I have bold, right? That in negrito just makes it a little bit darker. I can use italics, which just tilts it, right? Or I can underline it. And I don't want to use that. I want you to bold it. So it immediately brings attention like, boom, this is where this person goes to school. Okay? Dope. Something you'll need to fill out is your graduation year, 2020, let's say. And if you notice that there's space, right, there's this like little bit, it's minimal. It's like one space bar. You need to fix that. I need it all the way over to the right side. Okay? So make sure you put in your graduation date. Your cumulative GPA. So you guys just got progress reports. I know they were really tricky to read, but you should have seen your end of year projected GPA, not just for this quarter or this trimester, but for your whole entire high school experience. What is it now? So let's say I have a 3.5 or a 3.43 is what I had, okay? If you have above a 3.0, you want to include this information. If you have below a 3.0, even if it's a 2.9, you're going to delete this information altogether. It does not help you to have that there. It puts more questions into the employer's mind about why and what classes did you maybe not do well in. It doesn't highlight you well. And this is your document. This is a dynamic document that you are constantly evolving to make sure you look the best possible. So if your GPA is below a 3.0, cross it out. If after this trimester it is bumped up to above a 3.0 or better, include it back in, right? It's not a decision you have to make now and then it's a forever decision. Okay, remember that this is a dynamic document. Okay, so then the last thing I want to add is I got to bring Brooklyn, New York back over to the right side. You notice that my mouse is staying right here, but my text was moving, right? So now I have it all the way over to the right side again. And same thing. So it's going to just be, you don't differentiate text well if this is just normal, right? I don't have any of these functions selected. So I really want to bring the locations kind of to the forefront. I want the locations of things to catch people's eyes because I think locations can sometimes wow people, right? Like, wow, you went to school in Brooklyn. What was that, right? What was that like? Excuse me. So that it just starts conversation. So in order to do that, I don't want to use bold again because it's not as important as where you went to school, but I think italicizing it, let me unbold it. Italicizing it is a good way. It's minimal. It's more minimal than bolding it, right? Bolding will bring it to your attention first. But italicizing Brooklyn, New York makes it different from this text up above, so it sticks out a little bit more. And again, I'm just going to use the space bar to bring it over as far as I can. Okay? Dope. So now, really quick, I'm going to bring you back into, even if you're not done with this, that's okay. Please come back into Nearpod. And I want you to answer this open-ended question for me. There's a timer on it for 5 minutes. You don't need to sit there for the entire 5 minutes, but I just don't want you spending all your time thinking about this. I simply want you to answer, how are bolded and italicized text similar? First, okay? How are they similar? And then how are they different, okay? Go ahead and answer that for me. And then the rest of the way, you'll know what to do.